live every day as if it were the last, because before you know it, time goes past and life's just not that long. Tell all you love that you love them so, because even if you do, they might not know, and one day we'll all be gone. Taste the wind, don't let it blow on by. Sing songs of love, let the music get you high. And when it's
With much help from many people, I have made many huge changes in my life. I grew up in a mostly white farm community in Illinois. I now enjoy living in a mostly brown and black neighborhood in New Mexico's largest city, Albuquerque. I grew up in a 10-room, 2-story house plus attic and cellar. I now enjoy living in one sunny room in the house of a friend, 9.5 feet by 12 feet, 114 square feet. As a kid, I was spoiled. Too many toys, too many clothes, too many books, too many phonograph records. I now enjoy living below the U.S. poverty level for me as a single person. I was a very religious kid. I was president of the Youth for Christ Club in my public high school. I majored in Bible at a church college. I was a sincere, very sincere Christian preacher at 20 years old in Virginia, in the Shenandoah Valley. And I was a very sincere Christian preacher at 21 in Sterling, Illinois. I had not yet questioned deeply my faith. I had not yet questioned deeply the Bible. I am no longer religious. In high school, I did not dance. I believed dancing was wrong. But now I enjoy dancing for hours to beautiful music at fiestas. As a child, I wanted my foods separated on my plate. But I have drunk some of my piss for health every day since November 10th, 1999, now 2 cups as I exercise at home in the morning. And here's some that I'll drink to the health of all of you who are listening. Many people, many thousands of people have drunk their piss for health. 5,000 years in India, 9,000 years in Mexico, and many other places across the earth. Hundreds of enzymes, vitamins, minerals. It's instant feedback to the body to help the body correct itself to be healthy. And for best results with drinking your own piss, eat only healthy food. Healthy in, healthy out. For best results, no meat, no salt. And you can start with a few drops and then gradually work up a teaspoon, tablespoon. As I say, I drink about 2 cups early in the morning as I exercise. A totally free, natural medicine. far better than the pharmaceutical drugs that many people take like crazy. I enjoy licking the ass of a healthy man if he's attracted to me and if I'm attracted to him. So a big change from when I was a kid and wanted my foods separated on my plate. As a youth, I seldom wore shorts in public other than physical education class at school. I experienced mixed public nudity for the first time in New Mexico about 1971, men and women together, naked, in public, at the Spence Hot Springs in the Jemez Mountains. And I took to it like a duck to water. I became almost instantly a nudist from then on until today, over 50 years. I've enjoyed being naked at home when I'm warm enough. I enjoy being mostly naked on the streets when I'm warm enough. For many years, I posed naked for hundreds of artists at the University of New Mexico, colleges in Illinois, at other art groups in Albuquerque and Santa Fe. I was many times naked as an adult in the presence of my mother and my father. I have photos that my mother took of me naked as an adult. As a youth, I wasted many precious hours addicted to TV westerns and other crap. But I changed, and I've owned no television in Albuquerque since I first moved here almost 52 years ago. In high school and college, I did not know I am gay. I did not know in high school and college that millions of men, past and present, have enjoyed being in love and making love with men. Some of them are bisexual and also intensely enjoy sex and romance with women. I never had sex with any male until I was 31 years old here in Albuquerque. I had sex with a couple women before that. And since my first sex with any male at 31 in 1976, I've had sex with many dozens of men. I celebrate my strong romantic attraction to certain men. And I deeply loved Jose, bisexual man from Mexico, whom I met at the hot springs in 1991. He was 23. I deeply loved Don, a young man whose mother was Chicana, his father was Italian. He tragically died in a car crash at 25, and I've gone many times over the years to his grave at Fairview Cemetery on Yale Southeast here in Albuquerque. I've kissed the grass above his lips, above his hands, above his cock, and above his feet. And my dear Roberto, I deeply loved, and he's buried just one space from my cemetery plot at the San Jose de Armijo Cemetery on the west side of Albuquerque off Arenal. A beautiful dirt cemetery, much cheaper than the large grass cemeteries in Albuquerque. I owned one car in my life. It was a 61 Dodge that my parents bought for me used in 1966. And I had that car from 1966 to 1979. But I've owned no car. I've owned no car for 42 years. I've ridden in no car for 21 years. I ride city buses, but I mostly walk. Occasionally, I have taken the rail runner up to Santa Fe. I'm very glad that I'm able to walk. Many people are not able because of injuries in war or car crashes or having amputated limbs from diabetes. I would not keep the most expensive luxury car in Albuquerque if given to me free. I have no desire whatsoever to own any car the rest of my life. I would quickly sell any car that was given to me and use the money for much better things. Over 40 years ago, I learned to squat instead of sit on a toilet seat to shit. Much better to squat for our health, for a good shit. And the truth is, of course, that our ancestors all over the world, in every culture, for thousands of years, squatted to shit. So it's nothing that I dreamed up. We need, in so many ways, to get back to our roots. As a kid, and in my 20s, I foolishly ate much meat, cheese, ice cream, cake, cookies, pie, candy. I now eat only raw plant foods, plus some raw honey and bee pollen. I stopped meat and junk food largely in the 1970s. I stopped dairy largely in the 1980s. I stopped cooked food December 12th, 1998. Cooking destroys most of the nutrients, not all, but most of the nutrients in raw plant foods. You know, if you take any seed on earth and you cook it and then you plant it, you can water, you can pray, you can dance, you can hope till hell freezes over. It'll never grow. It's dead. And for the best health, we need living plant foods, preferably organic. In high school, I hated physical education class. I now do exercises at home almost every morning when I get up around 6. And in my 30s, I stayed up late many nights and felt like shit the next day. I now go to bed usually 9 to 10 p.m. and get up about 6 a.m. Many years ago, I worked in my parents' cattle and hog business in Illinois, part-time. Sadly, I participated in much cruelty to those animals. Now, I eat no meat and no dairy. In my exercise, in almost every morning, I do 250 push-ups, not all at once, but in sets of 50, 5 sets, 250 crunches in sets of 50, and 30 chin-ups, 11 in one set, then 10, then 9. I question if any of the high school athletes I went to school with back there in Illinois, those who are still living, exercise as much as I do. And besides the push-ups and the chin-ups and the crunches, I do a bunch of other exercises also. We can wise up. We can change. If I had my life to live over knowing what I know now, I would aim to do many things differently. I am deeply indebted to many people who have taught me. I am deeply indebted to many people who have loved me. I'm deeply indebted to many people who have inspired me. With much help from many people, I have made huge changes in my life. For hundreds of years, thousands of Christian preachers and priests have hammered awful shame and guilt into millions of people about any sex outside of church marriage of one man and one woman. For hundreds of years, thousands of Christian preachers and priests have hammered awful shame and guilt into millions of people about feeling strongly attracted and wanting sex with someone we're not married to. For hundreds of years, thousands of Christian preachers and priests have hammered awful shame and guilt into millions of people about pleasuring our own cock or vagina alone in masturbation, saying God, the creator of the universe, will send these sexual outlaws to never-ending torture with no pardon, no parole, if they do not repent and shape up. This kind of religion grabs people by the balls to control them through shame, through guilt about sex. Religion castrating millions without using a knife. And this kind of religion uses the fear of what happens to us after we die to control us. Christianity or any other religion that controls people through shame and guilt about sex that is wanted and enjoyed by all the people involved, that part of any religion, whatever the brand, is evil. Christianity or any other religion that uses the fear of never-ending torture with no pardon, no parole after we die to control people, that part of any religion is damn evil. No one on earth is born evil. No matter how much evil they later commit, at birth we are all like a bare garden plot at the beginning of spring. And all of us who are in the child's life plant good seeds or poison weeds in that child. Or a lot of both good seeds and poison weeds. We do not know what the baby suffered in the mother's womb before birth. If the mother was bruised and beaten by a jealous husband or boyfriend. We do not know what the baby suffered in the mother's womb if the mother was addicted to booze and other drugs, and how that affects the baby's brain and total body. We do not know what the baby suffered in the mother's womb if the mother lived in constant fear or in severe depression, considering suicide over and over. And these all affect the baby in the womb. And this baby, as an adult man or woman, has no memory of life, good or bad, in mother's womb. We do not know what the baby suffers after birth behind the home's closed doors. Violent family fights, hunger, neglect, hate-filled cursing, seldom if ever rocked or hugged and touched with affection. The Swiss Jewish psychiatrist Alice Miller, in her book For Your Own Good, tells of the horrendous cruelty that Adolf Hitler suffered as a boy. Have you ever heard that before? Hitler was not born evil. Hitler was not born a mass killer of millions of people. He was terribly abused as a boy. And beneath the smile of the teenage, good-looking boy or girl can be a hell of hurt, abuse, loneliness. Beneath the many jokes of the popular adult comedian can lie pits of sorrow, depression, suicide attempts. Beneath the gun-addicted hellraiser's insane meanness lies an unhealed, abused child, starved for love. Men and women, if possible, avoid conceiving any baby if you know you are not ready, you are not able to be the good parent every child needs, every child deserves. I repeat that. Men and women, if possible, avoid conceiving any baby if you know deep in your heart you are not ready, you're not able to be the good parent that every child needs, every child deserves. When loved ones are dying, make sure they know if you're willing to listen to their deepest fears and feelings. When loved ones are dying, make sure they know if you're willing to listen to their regrets, their best memories, their worst memories of their life. When loved ones are dying, make sure they know if you're willing to listen to their wisdom, their hidden secrets, the painful lessons they learned in life. And never bullshit your dying loved ones with, "You'll soon be up and around. You're looking better every day." Don't lie to dying people. It's cruel. It's crazy. If you can't face the truth about your loved ones dying, why bullshit them when they need and want friends and relatives who do not lie about their condition? And often dying people want to talk about death, but they know some of their loved ones cannot handle real talk about death. If your loved ones are opening their hearts to you, listen. Do not change the subject. Do not look at your watch. Do not leave the room. Listen to your dying loved ones. Listening with your heart to your dying loved ones is 1,000,000 times better than buying a $100 bouquet of roses when they lie cold and still in the coffin. Listening with your heart to your loved ones is 1,000,000 times better than wasting many thousands of dollars on a fancy funeral, a luxury box to be put in the ground, never to be seen again, while millions of desperately poor, homeless children all over the world do not have a home. They're sick, they're hungry, they're cold. I want no fancy funeral. I built my own very simple plywood coffin over 3 years ago. It cost about $60. Why waste thousands of dollars on a fancy gravestone? Listen to your loved ones when they're dying and before. Give them hugs. Show them affection. The last time I visited my friend Harry Wilson, days before he died, over 12 years ago, Harry told me, "Squeeze out every drop." In other words, make the best of every day of life. Do not waste the precious moments. Life is short. Our lives are too precious to waste. George Mizo, M-I-Z-O, was a Native American soldier in the Vietnam War. George Mizo realized the Vietnam War was evil. And after his whole platoon, except for him, was killed, George Mizo became totally committed to stopping the damn war as a soldier within the military. And years after the war, George Mizo, the Native American soldier, returned to Vietnam. He met, now get this is amazing. He met and became friends with the North Vietnamese general whose soldiers had killed George's platoon. Enemies can become friends. We can forgive. And together, these former enemies, including other U.S. veterans and North Vietnamese veterans, built the Friendship Village in Vietnam. a home for victims of Agent Orange. The United States had sprayed this terrible chemical poison, Agent Orange, across Vietnam, causing many children to be born tragically deformed for possibly the next 500 years. Talk about the evils of other countries and of Russia in Ukraine, and I damn Russia's war in Ukraine. Absolutely evil. But the U.S. has killed millions of people in many nations for decades. I wish the U.S. newscasters and teachers and community leaders had the courage, had the balls, had the conscience to damn those atrocities as well as the atrocities of Russia. I strongly compliment the hero of conscience, Native American George Mezo, and other veterans who changed from waging war to waging peace. George was the first person from the United States to receive the Vietnam Medal of Friendship for his outstanding humanitarian service to the people of Vietnam. And see the documentary called The Friendship Village, about this place in Vietnam, a home for the tragically deformed victims of U.S. wars, U.S. Agent Orange. See it on YouTube, the Friendship Village documentary. Many years ago, Eric Menendez murdered his parents. And we can learn from his terrible crime. As he faced a life sentence in prison, Eric said his true punishment for his murder of his parents was the agony of hating himself for what he did. Eric tells abused children that killing solves nothing. Killing solves nothing. Eric said, what I did was completely wrong. Taking my own life would have been better. What is sad, he says, is there are so many people that hate me and they do not even know me. I was feeling horribly empty. I did not think I had much to live for. Within that week, I would have killed myself. Eric Menendez insists he loved his parents at some level, but he says life with his father, who was an entertainment executive, was impossible. Eric said, one of the disturbing things is I've been getting letters from kids who have been abused. They say, you did the right thing. These letters disturb me, says Eric, because what I did was completely wrong. Taking my own life would have been better. Eric wants to tell those abused youth, if you kill your abusers, you won't be able to live with it because you also love them. He says, certainly I'm relieved. I no longer have to fear anyone coming into my room at night. But suddenly, they're dead. And you can't say, wait a minute, I need to talk to you about this. It's silence. silence forevermore. And how much better for society and for Eric Menendez if instead of locking him up for many years, he would be allowed to tell his tragic story, the hard lesson he learned, to schools all over this country, so that other kids, abused especially, and the parents can learn from his atrocity, from his tragedy. Eric deeply regrets what he did. He cannot bring his parents, whom he murdered, back, but he can help others avoid committing the evil he committed. A woman in Australia, this is her story. In 1988, she had cancer in the bowel, the liver, the lymph system. For the cancer in the bowel, she had 3 surgeries within 3 months. After that, she was only skin and bone. For the liver and lymph cancers, she was offered chemotherapy, but she refused. And all the anesthetics, the antibiotics, the post-operative drugs from those earlier surgeries had weakened her immune system to rock bottom. She was given by a friend this book, not this copy, but this book, The Water of Life by John W. Armstrong of England. It is a powerful book about the benefits of urine therapy, of drinking your own piss. She decided not to tell her doctor, not to tell anyone until she felt totally healed. She did not want anyone trying to discourage her or have a negative influence on her. She kept up with meditation and relaxation. She kept drinking her wheatgrass juice, which is packed with nutrition, mixed with lettuce juice to make it more tasty. She ate other veggie juices and plenty of salads and greens. No meat, no cooked foods, no dairy products, no oils or fats for 3 months to heal her liver. She had daily rubbings of her whole body, including her hair and her scalp, with piss. The skin is an absorbing organ for the lymph glands. She would do this in the afternoon and shower the next morning. She also drank her own piss, her water of life, in between meals, early morning, during the night, up to 7 glasses per day. And this is some of my fresh piss. Nine months later, and notice, this didn't happen overnight, it didn't happen in a week or 1 month, but 9 months later, she went to her doctor looking and feeling well. And what a great surprise to the doctor. He thought she had already died. A blood test showed no remaining trace of cancer anymore. There's a better way. than surgeries and chemotherapy and radiation for most cancers. Why is marriage called tying the knot? I sure as hell do not want anyone tied in a knot to me. I urge every couple considering marriage, whether you're two men, two women, a man and a woman, to ask yourselves this question. Do I ever know myself? Do I ever know the other person? Do I ever know the future well enough to know for sure that we both, not just me, not just the other person, but we both will do well and not just tolerate the situation, but will do well with only each other romantically until we die. That's heavy. I aim to tell the truth. I aim to not make foolish promises, and I am no fan of marriage for anyone, but people have to make up their own minds. But make sure you think about it deeply before you get married. Why end up divorcing if you could have avoided the problem? A solemn vow that many make and many break or want to break. A solemn vow that I refuse to make to anyone. I've been in love with certain men. I deeply have loved some men, as I mentioned earlier. Jose, Don, Roberto. I treasure mutually passionate romance with certain men, but I do not want to be caged by any man on earth. And I do not want to cage any man on earth, no matter how much I love him. I want him to stay close to me as a friend or a lover because he wants to, not because he feels trapped in a legal box. My mother and my dad were miserable cellmates until death in the prison of marriage. If he and I part, I do not want to sue him, and I do not want him to sue me. Marriage partners often take each other for granted. They slack off from exercise and staying healthy. Marriage partners often turn to booze or junk food or to buying crap that nobody needs for comfort, to try to fill the loneliness and the emptiness inside in a rotten marriage. Married couples often hold each other back and use each other as an excuse not to change, not to grow. One says, blaming the other one, I cannot stop eating meat or sugar because she or he has that stuff here and I can't keep from eating it. One says, I would live simply in a much smaller place, but she or he refuses to change. Marriage partners often act as if they own each other. I don't own any other human being, and no other person owns me. But when they act as if they own each other, they try to control each other, get insanely jealous, sometimes killing the other person. Some people may do best with only one romantic partner for life, but even they would be wise never to pledge themselves only to each other romantically until death. And as the years pass, these two people can check if they both are doing well in this relationship with only each other romantically. Some people have their number one romantic relationship with one person for decades, but they also enjoy close friendship and pleasurable sex with other persons and do it honestly and openly with their main partner knowing the truth. Some people are able to be deeply in love with two or more persons at the same time for years and do it openly, honestly, with little or no jealousy. The rule of no sex for couples outside marriage often breeds lies, cover-ups, heavy frustration, boredom, violent jealousy. Marriage often becomes a duel instead of a duet. And my own parents might have been much better friends had they never married. Marriage destroys many friendships. Some couples become better friends after they separate. My parents were not a good match. If I had been my mother, I do not know how I could have coped being married to my dad. And if I had been my dad, I do not know how I could have coped being married to my mother. They were married 48 years until my mother died. And sadly, it often was a war of words, hurt feelings, rage. My mother needed, my mother wanted, my mother was capable of much deeper intimacy than my dad gave her, or perhaps was even able to give her. I learned from my mother and my dad not to get or stay trapped in a rotten marriage, making each other miserable. Why? Why? Far worse than having no romantic companion is feeling trapped by a vow to someone I no longer want to be with, or trapped by a vow to someone who no longer wants to be with me. Yes, to passionate romances. Yes, to being in love with more than one person at the same time and doing it absolutely, honestly, and openly. But legal marriage for me, never. Yes, to close friendships with many people. Yes, to heart-to-heart conversations with many people. But legal marriage for me, hell no, never. A woman wrote, "These people who write in with sympathy for the poor teenagers of divorced or separated parents make me ill," she says. "I wish I had divorced my husband long before my children were teenagers. They would probably be much better adjusted to life than they are now." This woman says, "I asked my 14-year-old son if he wanted his father to move back in. His dad was hanging around the house at mealtimes. My son was a quiet boy. My son was a deep thinker. He said, 'Mom, I like Dad better when he doesn't live here.' My son is now 34, she says. On a recent visit, I asked him if he ever remembered seeing his father put his arms around me or kiss me. And he said, once, when he was leaving town. This man mentally abused the children, mentally abused me. I could go on for hours, she says. I can truthfully say that I've been happier the last 18 years since my divorce than I've ever been. I've adjusted pretty well, but my son needs counseling to get on with his life. She says the bottom line is this: there are worse things than a broken home. Alfalfa is my favorite green. I grow a lot of it in my garden, and I put it in my smoothies along with many other ingredients. Alfalfa is one of the most nourishing foods on earth. I enjoy eating it in my all-raw, homemade, blended smoothies. The Arabic word alfalfa means in English, father of all foods. The roots of alfalfa can burrow deep into the ground, 40 feet, 60 feet, 100 feet, even 130 feet into the ground, the roots of alfalfa. Of course, usually they hit rock long before that. But the deep roots reach many minerals that most other plants' roots do not reach. Alfalfa is high in protein. Alfalfa contains vitamins A, E, K, D, U, folic acid. Alfalfa has abundant green chlorophyll, and chlorophyll is the blood of green plants. Alfalfa softens hard arteries. Alfalfa helps stomach problems, ulcers, gas. Alfalfa helps fatigue, diabetes, infection. Alfalfa cleans and tones the intestines. Alfalfa helps sore throat, ear problems, skin sores. Alfalfa builds vitality, strength, energy, endurance. Alfalfa helps abscesses, the prostate. Alfalfa helps arthritis. Alfalfa builds healthy weight. It helps fat people lose the fat, and it helps people that are too thin gain by stimulating their appetite. Alfalfa helps conquer addiction to booze and to other street drugs. Alfalfa promotes good sleep. Alfalfa increases a mother's breast milk. Alfalfa purifies our blood. Alfalfa helps lower back pains and improves resistance to disease. I enjoy eating fresh alfalfa that is coming on now from my garden. I grow alfalfa. Alfalfa is my favorite green. I wish we had a fair, loving, all-powerful parent God who would rescue all people, who fervently prayed for help from war, starvation, cancer, addiction, tornadoes, drought, family violence, blindness, rape, false charges, drones, torture, and much more. Hundreds of millions of people throughout human history for many thousands and thousands of years have prayed desperately to God, the best they knew how, and received no help. Did Jesus of Nazareth actually live? If he did live, did the writers of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John in the Bible accurately tell what Jesus spoke, what he did? In the centuries since, did those people who copied and translated the original writings do a good job? Make no important mistakes? Huge question. Who knows for sure? The Bible says Jesus spoke about God as a loving Father who would answer prayers and give what we ask for. Matthew 7:11, supposedly, Jesus said, "If you then who are evil know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him?" Matthew 18:19, "Again I say to you, if two of you agree on earth about anything they ask, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven." Matthew 21:22, "And whatever you ask in prayer, you will receive if you have faith." Supposedly, according to the Bible, Jesus said all of those. So if he actually lived, and if he sincerely said those verses, Jesus was sadly deluded about God, sadly deluded about reality. And no matter how well-meaning he was not telling the truth. Talk about politicians, fake promises, and companies' false advertising to sell products. These verses are false advertising for God. Feel good, make believe, bullshit in the name of religion. I am humbled, I, Don Schrader, am humbled to realize that I swallowed and I spread this false advertising for God for many years. I was a sincere Christian preacher in the 1960s. I had not yet learned to question the Bible deeply and to reject what is not true. I thank many people who helped me open my eyes. Wear and tear arthritis, also called osteoarthritis, the degeneration of those joints that you're using daily, knees and hips and shoulders, can start in your late 40s. Weakening muscles and weight gain worsen the condition. According to the Arthritis Foundation, being just 10 pounds overweight puts an extra 15 to 50 pounds of pressure on your knees. Get rid of every pound of fat. Live healthy. A toast to you all with my piss. Good night.
Taste the wind, don't let it blow on by. Sing songs of love, let the music get you high. And when it's said and done, you'll know the sun will shine on. And when it's said and